What if I told you Barcelona's presidential race just took a twist so crazy it could drag Lionel Messi back into the spotlight? And while fans dream of a Messi return, Erling Haaland just dropped a statement that flips the entire Messi-Ronaldo debate on its head. So what's really happening behind the scenes, and why is the football world suddenly split in two? Stick around, because what you're about to hear changes everything. We'll explain everything in this video, step by step. Don't skip it. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up, because today's football drama is hotter than the Champions League night in June. We've got Barcelona dreams, presidential promises, and superstar reactions that are shaking the football world like a last-minute VAR check. We start in Catalonia, where the Barcelona presidential race has taken a wild turn. One candidate steps up, looks the world in the eye, and boldly declares, "The first thing I'll do is call Lionel Messi." Oh yes, you heard that right. Forget budget meetings, forget boardrooms. This man wants the GOAT back on speed dial before he even finds his office chair. And honestly, every Barca fan just screamed a collective, please do it. Because let's be real, the Camp Nou has been missing that magic, that left-footed poetry, that Messi-shaped spark. And now someone's promising to bring it back like it's a surprise birthday party. Talk about confidence. If elections were won by vibes alone, this guy is already lifting the trophy. But hold your breath, because across the channel, a different superstar is making headlines of his own. Erling Haaland, the Nordic machine, the goal-scoring skyscraper, finally responds to the endless Messi-Ronaldo comparison talk. And what does he do? He shrugs it off like a defender bouncing off his shoulder. Haaland coolly says he's not chasing Messi or Ronaldo's shadow, he's carving his own path. Thank you very much. And honestly, with the numbers he's putting up, defenders are begging him not to carve too aggressively. This man plays football like he's running a cheat code. It's the perfect contrast. In Spain, a president wants to bring Messi back to Barcelona. In England, Haaland wants the world to stop comparing him to Messi and Ronaldo altogether. Football? Never boring. Not for a second. And as these two storylines collide, the legendary past and the unstoppable present, the drama couldn't be juicier. Will Messi return to Barcelona? Will Haaland start a legacy of his own? And will the football universe ever stop exploding with headlines like these? Stay tuned, because this story is sprinting faster than Haaland on a counter-attack, and we're just getting started. The announcement from the Barcelona presidential candidate that the first thing I'll do is call Lionel Messi has exploded across the football world, stirring up a storm of excitement, nostalgia and speculation. It's not just a campaign promise, it's a bold emotional strike aimed straight at the heart of every Barcelona supporter who has spent years longing for Messi's return. And what makes this moment so dramatic is the timing. Barcelona is in a phase of rebuilding, searching for identity, stability, and that signature spark that defined the club for nearly 2 decades. Bringing Messi back, even as a symbolic or strategic figure, is more than a transfer dream. It's a statement of ambition, a declaration that the club wants to reconnect with its soul. The candidate's promise works on multiple levels. Politically, it's a masterstroke. Messi remains the most powerful figure associated with Barcelona, even long after his departure. Mention his name, and the entire world pays attention. Promise to call him, and suddenly the presidential race shifts from a quiet administrative battle to a dramatic saga filled with emotional stakes. Fans don't want spreadsheets. They want hope. They want magic. And the promise of Messi injects exactly that kind of electricity into the campaign. But on a football level, this bold move raises real questions. Could Messi actually return? Would he take the call? And what would such a reunion look like? There's also the deeper meaning behind the gesture. When Messi left Barcelona, it wasn't just a transfer. It was heartbreak, confusion, and a collapse of trust between the player and the club's administration. By declaring that his first action would be to call Messi, the candidate is essentially acknowledging that repairing this relationship is essential to rebuilding the institution. Messi's presence, whether as a player, ambassador, advisor, symbol, or simply a guiding figure, carries massive emotional and cultural weight. He represents Barcelona's golden era, its football philosophy, and its global identity. Reopening that connection could help restore the club's confidence, attract sponsors, reignite fan engagement, and stabilise the fractured sporting project. At the same time, this promise reflects how desperate the situation has become. Barcelona needs belief. They need a figure who can unify the supporters and inspire the squad. Even if Messi doesn't return in a playing capacity, involving him in the club's new chapter could reintroduce a sense of direction and pride. And that's exactly why this statement is so powerful. Not because it guarantees anything, but because it signals a willingness to respect the legacy that made Barcelona unique. It acknowledges that the club lost more than a player when Messi departed. It lost part of its identity, its joy, and its emotional foundation. The promise to call Messi is also a reminder of how football is driven by emotion as much as strategy. Fans respond to stories, to symbols, to heroes, to the sense that history might repeat itself in the most magical way. And for a presidential candidate, connecting to that emotion can reshape an entire campaign. This single statement has already transformed the political atmosphere around the club, pulling global attention back to Barcelona's future and igniting a conversation that had been fading away. The moment rumours of Lionel Messi potentially returning to Barcelona resurfaced, the football world reacted with an intensity that only Messi's name can trigger. For many fans, the idea of Messi wearing the Barcelona colours again isn't just a transfer fantasy, it's an emotional revival, a return to a time when football felt magical, predictable in its brilliance, and full of moments that defined an entire era. Ever since his departure, a piece of Barcelona's felt missing, a quiet absence that echoes through every match, every rebuild attempt, and every discussion about identity and philosophy. So the slightest hint that Messi might once again have a role in the club sends a shockwave of hope across Catalonia and far beyond. It awakens memories of the golden years, of impossible goals, of poetic football, and of a connection between player and club that felt deeper than sport itself. The excitement isn't limited to nostalgia, it's fueled by the current state of the club and the emotional vacuum that has lingered for years. Supporters have endured instability, financial chaos, tactical confusion, and a constant sense of transition without resolution. In those moments of uncertainty, the thought of Messi returning becomes more than a simple football desire, it becomes a symbol of restoration. Fans aren't just dreaming of watching him dribble past defenders again, they're dreaming of healing, of reuniting the club with the heart it lost. The idea that the greatest player in the club's history could once again step onto Catalan soil brings a sense of comfort, direction and unity that has been missing since the day he left. This excitement is amplified by how global the reaction is. Messi isn't just a Barca legend, he's a worldwide icon. When rumours of his return appear, social media ignites instantly, news outlets scramble for updates, and supporters across continents join in the speculation. For many of them, Barcelona without Messi still feels strange, like a book missing its final chapter. His return, in any form, feels like unfinished business suddenly gaining a chance to be completed. That emotional pull is powerful, and it explains why even the smallest piece of news triggers massive conversation and celebration. Even neutral fans, who simply love the game, find themselves curious, invested, and entertained by the possibility of such a historic reunion. The excitement around Messi's potential return is also driven by the way football stories define eras. Fans love narratives, heroes returning home, unfinished journeys being revived, legendary connections being restored. Messi returning to Barcelona would immediately become one of the greatest storylines in football history. It would be a moment that transcends club loyalty, appealing to anyone who has ever felt the emotional weight of sport. The anticipation alone becomes a story, building with every rumour, every comment from club officials, every hint in the media, and every gesture from Messi himself. And because of that, the excitement doesn't fade, it grows, it evolves, and it keeps the football community buzzing with energy, hope and imagination. What makes all of this even more powerful is the way fans cling to even the smallest fragments of possibility. A statement from a club candidate, a gesture from Messi during an interview, a comment from a former teammate, each piece fuels the fire. Supporters are ready to analyse every detail, searching for signs that this dream might actually come to life. It doesn't matter whether Messi returns as a player, a mentor, an ambassador, or simply a symbolic part of the club's future. What matters is that his presence represents something bigger than football, a chance to reconnect with the essence of what Barcelona once was, and perhaps what it can be again. Erling Haaland's decision to downplay comparisons to Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo adds a compelling layer to his growing legacy. revealing both confidence and a desire to forge his own identity in a sport long dominated by two giants. For years, the football world has been obsessed with placing Haaland somewhere on the Messi-Ronaldo spectrum, analysing his numbers, his style, his mentality, and trying to determine whether he is the next heir to football's greatest duopoly. But Haaland's calm and almost indifferent response reflects a deeper understanding of his role in modern football. Instead of chasing shadows or measuring himself against achievements that defined an entire generation, he seems intent on carving his own path, shaped by his own strengths, personality, and ambitions. His dismissal of the comparison talk also highlights his awareness of how unique Messi and Ronaldo truly are. Their rivalry wasn't just statistical, it was emotional, cultural, and global. They shaped narratives, attracted tribal fan bases, and turned football into a stage for a decade-long duel at the highest level. Haaland appears to recognise that stepping into that rivalry is not only impossible but unnecessary. Rather than allowing the pressure of living up to two legends to influence his performances, he approaches the game with remarkable simplicity: score goals, help the team win, improve each season. By refusing to place himself in that conversation, he effectively removes the weight of expectation and allows his natural evolution to play out without artificial comparisons. There is also a psychological dimension behind his reaction. Haaland understands that football icons are not replicated. They emerge from unique eras, systems, and circumstances. Messi's magic was built on dribbling, artistry, and creative genius. Ronaldo's greatness on physical evolution and relentless ambition. Haaland's game is built differently: raw power, clinical finishing, towering athleticism, and an ability to dominate penalty areas like a modern predator. He brings a style that doesn't fit neatly into the Messi-Ronaldo blueprint, and his dismissal of comparisons signals an intention to be measured by what he brings to the sport, not by how closely he resembles the past. It's a refreshing stance in a football culture obsessed with labels, rankings, and debates. His reaction also reveals maturity beyond his years. Many young players might be flattered by such comparisons and allow them to influence their persona or public image. Haaland's refusal to engage keeps the focus on the present, on his performances, and on his role within Manchester City's system. It also shields him from unnecessary media narratives that could distract from his development. In a world where every rising star is quickly framed as the next Messi or next Ronaldo, Haaland's self-awareness sets him apart. He embraces his uniqueness rather than trying to fit into a mould that was never meant for him. At the same time, his stance adds a subtle form of pressure on football commentators and fans. If Haaland isn't interested in being compared to Messi and Ronaldo, then he challenges the football world to appreciate the evolution of the game itself and acknowledge that a new era won't mirror the last one. His refusal invites fans to look at what makes him special, not how closely he resembles greatness that already exists. His towering presence, his efficiency, his relentlessness, and his ability to deliver in high-pressure moments all contribute to a profile that stands on its own terms, separate from the two legends whose shadows stretched across football for more than a decade. The rising tension between the new generation of football superstars and the fading echoes of a legendary era has created one of the most intriguing storylines in modern football. As Erling Haaland continues his meteoric rise and the Messi-Ronaldo era slowly moves toward its conclusion, the contrast between the two worlds becomes more dramatic with every passing season. Haaland represents the future, a powerhouse built for speed, efficiency and impact, while Messi and Ronaldo represent a near mythical past defined by artistry, longevity and emotional connection. This clash of timelines fuels endless debates, narratives and expectations, painting the sport with a sense of transition that feels both exciting and bittersweet. It is not merely about comparing players, it's about witnessing the evolution of the game itself, where the style, pace, and meaning of stardom shift before our eyes. This storyline becomes even more compelling when considering how the football community processes change. Fans grew up watching Messi and Ronaldo redefine greatness, break unbreakable records, and dominate the biggest stages for more than a decade. They weren't just icons, they were cultural forces who shaped rivalries, shaped dreams, and shaped the way people interpreted excellence. Now, as their era edges closer to its final chapters, the question of who steps forward to lead football into its next age becomes central. Haaland, with his extraordinary goal-scoring rate and unstoppable physicality, naturally enters this conversation, but he does so on his own terms. His presence disrupts the established order, challenging the narrative that greatness must always resemble what came before. The intensity of this storyline grows because Haaland is not trying to replace anybody. He's trying to redefine what dominance looks like. His game is direct, explosive, and ruthless in a way that contrasts sharply with the poetic elegance of Messi or the calculated athletic perfection of Ronaldo. This difference creates a fascinating dynamic. Fans must decide whether to evaluate Haaland using old criteria or open themselves to a new definition of football supremacy. It's a tug of war between nostalgia and progression, between appreciating what was and embracing what is becoming. And that tension is felt every time Haaland scores, every time he breaks a record, and every time he brushes off comparisons to two of the greatest players history has ever seen. Beyond fan debates, this storyline reflects a deeper emotional shift within football. The Messi-Ronaldo era was built on rivalry, a rivalry that evolved into a narrative that transcended clubs, competitions, and borders. It was filled with drama, loyalty, arguments, and unforgettable moments. With Haaland stepping into the spotlight, the dynamic changes. There is no symmetrical rivalry, no equal counterpart, no emotional history binding him to another superstar in the same way. Football is moving from a two-man era to a more diverse landscape where individual greatness is measured differently and where multiple stars can flourish without being tied to the kind of binary rivalry that defined the past decade. This transition shapes every discussion around Haaland. His rise is constantly framed by the greatness of the era before him, while his performances signal the beginning of something new. Fans are caught between celebrating the future and holding on to the past, and that emotional conflict fuels the intensity of this narrative. The storyline isn't just about who is better, it's about what football meant then, what it means now, and how it will be remembered in the years to come. The football world today feels like it is split between two powerful emotional forces: the pull of nostalgia and the surge of new dominance. On one side, fans hold tightly to the memories of Messi and Ronaldo, two icons who elevated the sport to extraordinary heights and created moments that millions will never forget. Their era was defined by magic, rivalry, and an almost cinematic sense of drama that made each season feel like part of a larger story. On the other side stands a new generation led by players like Erling Haaland, who represent the future of the sport through their physicality, efficiency, and modern style of play. This divide creates a unique tension as supporters navigate the emotional balance between honouring the legends they grew up with and embracing the rising stars reshaping the game. This split becomes even more interesting when considering how deeply football is tied to personal identity. Fans often associate different moments of their lives with the eras of players they admire. Messi and Ronaldo's greatness wasn't just statistical, it was personal. They shaped the dreams of children, inspired young athletes, and became symbols of excellence for an entire global audience. Their influence extended beyond the field, seeping into culture, conversation, and the collective memory of a generation. So when discussions arise about new players overtaking their legacy, the reactions are emotional rather than analytical. People aren't just defending records, they're defending memories, feelings and attachments that run deep. Meanwhile, the new era, led by Haaland, is pushing football into a different style of dominance. His presence on the field is defined by power, precision and relentlessness, mirroring the evolution of the modern game. Football today is faster, more tactical, more physically demanding and more data-driven, and Haaland fits this environment perfectly. His rise reflects the changing priorities of the sport: efficiency over elegance, directness over dribbling, and impact over improvisation. For many fans, this is thrilling and refreshing, a glimpse into the future of football that feels dynamic and unstoppable. For others, it signals a shift away from the artistry that Messi and Ronaldo embodied, creating a bittersweet contrast between what the sport was and what it is becoming. This contrast fuels endless debates in stadiums, online communities, and everyday conversations. Some fans cling to the belief that no one will ever replicate the brilliance of Messi or Ronaldo, while others argue that every era creates its own legends. These discussions are part of what makes football so emotionally rich. The sport thrives on generational clashes, on comparing styles, on imagining what greatness looks like across different periods of time. The split between nostalgia and new dominance isn't a conflict that needs resolution, it's a natural part of the sport's evolution, giving fans multiple ways to connect with the game. What makes this divide even more compelling is that both sides contribute to football's global appeal. The nostalgia surrounding Messi and Ronaldo keeps the past alive, reminding fans of what the sport has already achieved, while the excitement around Haaland and the new generation drives anticipation for what comes next. This duality creates an ongoing story where the legacy of yesterday and the promise of tomorrow exist side by side, shaping a football landscape that feels emotionally complex, richly layered, and constantly evolving. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to like and subscribe.